And there you have it. Another wonderful weekend of football notched in our collective belt.
Nick Moore snaps it. Jordan Stout holds it. Justin Tucker wins it for Baltimore.
Shout out to you TPSers for making some phenomenal predictions on last week's games. You almost had that Colts-Broncos tie, which is pretty remarkable in and of itself. Regardless, you kept the gravy train rolling and edged out our experts by 1, getting 10 correct picks compared to our 9. Congratulations! You've got us giving out another prize this week. And now, the world moves 4 wins ahead of TPS in the season-long standings. But nonetheless, one $50 Visa gift card will be sent out this week. And it goes to the person who commented with the most impressive and, more importantly, correct bold prediction. I cannot emphasize how hard it was this week, as we had a couple of extremely viable candidates. I'm looking at you, Charles Brannon. I mean, we would have loved to give you a prize for correctly predicting the score of that Titans-Commanders game. But unfortunately, y'all only earned 1 prize this week. And Peyton Brown 2000's prediction that there would be over 5 fumbles in the Broncos-Colts game earned our vote as the boldest correct prediction of the week. Peyton Brown 2000, thanks for your support, and congrats on the win! Hit us up via the email listed here, and we'll get your prize out to you. As for the rest of you, if you'd like to earn some TPS bucks next week, like Peyton Brown 2000 did, here's what you need to do to enter the upcoming contest. It's simple. Just, number 1, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. And if you're not, what the heck are you waiting for? Number 2, like this video. Number 3, comment below with what your boldest prediction for week 6 is. It went so well last week that we wanted to give you guys another shot to get your best takes off your chest. How bold are we looking for? Don't worry, we got the conversation started again by throwing in our own bold prediction for each game along with this week's picks. So, without further ado, let us proceed into our Week 6 predictions. Washington Commanders at Chicago Bears. God bless any of you who actually sit down to watch this game to see if the fan pick of the Bears winning pulls through, because man, this one is gonna be a stinker. These have been 2 of the most frustrating franchises in the NFL over the past decade or so, and this year appears to be no different. Look for the Commanders to eke out a meager 10-7 win on a last-second touchdown from Brian Robinson. At least if our bold prediction does come true, then any of you who did endure the misery that is 3+ hours of Bears-Commanders football will have a nice feel-good palate cleanser after seeing Robinson punch in a last-second game-winning score to put a nice stamp on his comeback. Alexa, play Many Men by 50 Cent. Minnesota Vikings at Miami Dolphins. After getting embarrassed by a divisional rival and perennial cellar dweller in the New York Jets last week, it's hard not to take the TPSers Dolphins pick as a bold prediction in and of itself. Considering the accumulation of injuries down in South Beach and Kirk Cousins' propensity to pick on the weak, we say the Vikings will take this one by a final score of 27-10. The bold prediction? Kirk Cousins still hasn't thrown for over 300 yards this season, but I say he goes for over 450 this weekend. I mean, what could be more Kirk Cousins than to beat up on a reeling Dolphins team, no pun intended, that still doesn't even know who will be under center, during a 1 o'clock slot while moving to 5-1 and simultaneously hitting his peak way too early in the season. New England Patriots at Cleveland Browns. Last week, New England looked like they were finally starting to get some momentum going after a very tough start to the year. But we both seem to agree that the only other team that Bill Belichick has ever head coached, the Cleveland Browns, are gonna put a stop to all that. We are predicting that they steal a 24-21 win behind the arm of Jacoby Brissett. Look for Brissett to come up clutch against one of his former teams and lead the Browns down the field for a game-winning touchdown drive with only a few seconds remaining on the clock. San Francisco 49ers at Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta has had a whole lot of fight this season, and it seems like every week they're fighting back late to try and snatch back the win. But after the highway robbery we saw play out against the Bucs last week, we're both predicting that the Falcons lay an egg at home against the 49ers. San Fran wins by a final score of 31-17. And as far as a bold prediction, how about second-string running back Tevin Coleman going up for over 100 yards on the day and leading the game in rushing? Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Pittsburgh Steelers. After a pitiful showing in Week 5, it's not at all surprising to see that the fans, along with a lot of the general public, are back in the Bucs against Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. Which, I mean, I understand. It's tough to favor Pittsburgh when its veteran players are claiming to have accidentally butt-retweeted content that was disparaging their longtime head coach, Mike Tomlin. But when y'all zig, we zag. And we're taking the Steelers in a shocking 14-13 upset for Pickett's first career win. If Pickett knocking off Brady wasn't a bold enough prediction for you, try this one on for size. George Pickens, who made a name for himself this season with his physical play, gets ejected from the game after an altercation with a Bucs defender boils over. Cincinnati Bengals at New Orleans Saints. Paging the 2021 AFC champion Bengals. Paging. Are you there? So far this season, the answer has been no, as it looks like the runner-up hangover has gotten the best of Cincy to start off this year. However, it has started to look like Burrow and the gang are ready to turn the page. They've won 2 of 3, narrowly missing 3 straight dubs after getting edged out by the Ravens 19-17 on a Justin Tucker game-winning field goal last week. This week, we see both of them getting redemption. And after Burrow runs an epic 2-minute drill, their superstar kicker Evan McPherson takes a page out of Tucker's book and nails a 42-yard game winner in the closing seconds of the game to steal a victory from the Bengals 30-28. Baltimore Ravens at New York Giants. The Ravens, much to the disappointment of the TPSers, will have their luck run out in New York this week. The job that Brian Daboll has done with a Giants team that came into the season with 0 expectations this year has been one of the best stories in the entire league. Week 6, Daboll and co. pen another thrilling chapter, besting an AFC contender in Baltimore by a score of 26-21. And the kicker? How about a passing touchdown by Saquon Barkley? Yeah, that's right. We're predicting it once again. Will it hit this time? We'll see. New York Jets at Green Bay Packers. Now, I don't blame y'all for taking the Packers over the past, decade. If you threw these two teams in the ring, the outcome was basically a foregone conclusion. I mean, New York hasn't knocked off the Pack since 2006, which is a frighteningly long time ago. Nevertheless, we think the Jets further the narrative that is building around the New York football teams this year and deliver a 20-17 upset victory. This Packers offense looks broken, and Aaron's far from Mr. Rogers at this point, publicly calling out his teammates in the media. Conversely, the Jets have been building a head of steam ever since Robert Saleh said he was going to be taking receipts on everyone doubting his team. And to top off another shocking win, the Jets defense picks Rodgers off twice and returns one of them for a pick 6. Jacksonville Jaguars at Indianapolis Colts. Jags, Colts. Another electric AFC South matchup. Oh well, we do think that this one will be a little more exciting than the 2 snooze fest that we saw these teams play in during their respective Week 5 matchups. Though the Colts edged out a win against Denver on Thursday Night Football, neither team scored a touchdown, combining for 6 field goals and 18 points between the 2 of them. Woof. After seeing how strong Jacksonville has looked at one point this season, I can understand the TPS fans taking the Jags as their underdog of the week. But we think history repeats itself, and Indy continues its domination over Jacksonville with an admittedly slim 21-20 victory at home. Our bold prediction? Jonathan Taylor returns to action in a big way, rushing for over 150 yards and scoring all 3 of his team's touchdowns, 2 of them on the ground and 1 through the air from Matty Ice. Arizona Cardinals at Seattle Seahawks. 2 teams that seem to play some of the weirdest games in the NFL week in and week out. The Cardinals and the Seahawks. I see the appeal of a Cardinals get-right game in this spot for those who still think that Arizona is a legitimate contender in the NFC. But sadly, I think that the ship has sailed for Kingsbury and Kyler. Well, the good people here at TPS are writing back to Geno Smith and the Seahawks, picking them at home to win by a final score of 33-30. And DK Metcalf takes the top off a middling Cardinals secondary, finding himself on the receiving end of over half of Geno's passing yards through the air. In fact, how about we give you an exact number of 168 receiving yards for DK? Carolina Panthers at LA Rams. Now for our, drumroll please, lock of the week. The Los Angeles Rams besting the lowly Carolina Panthers by a score of 24-7. After the week Carolina had, let alone the season, it's hard to see this one going any other way for the defending Super Bowl champs. And y'all seem to agree. Not only are the Panthers going to be without their QB1, Baker Mayfield, they now seem to be a franchise entirely in flux, having fired head coach Matt Rule this past week. Time for the Rams to get back in the win column on the strength of its defense. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and the rest of the sleeping giant that is LA's D will wake up in a big way and hold Carolina to under 200 yards of total offense in the win. Buffalo Bills at Kansas City Chiefs. This game has been circled on many calendars since the schedule came out this summer. A rematch between the Bills and the Chiefs. Doesn't get much better than that. And, well, I imagine ever since that devastating playoff loss last year, the Bills have had this one circled as well. We both see the Bills getting revenge and what many are already calling the game of the year. As for the final score, how about 45-42? And our bold prediction? We're guessing it's Josh Allen's legs that'll put the Bills over the top in this one. Old Rocket Arm's going to be using that weapon to tuck the ball and run for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You heard it here first. Dallas Cowboys at Philadelphia Eagles. There has been a whole lot of hype building around Philadelphia this season, and you, the fans, are clearly buying in. I mean, the Eagles are undefeated this far, and should be heavily favored against a Cowboys team that will likely still be without Dak Prescott. But after an embarrassing loss in Week 1, after which many around the league thought the Cowboys season was good as dead, this pesky Dallas bunch has rallied behind its backup QB, Cooper Rush. And you know what? We think that the Rush train rages on to a 17-16 upset in Philly. This win, however, does not cement Rush's spot as the starter upon Dak's return. In fact, quite the opposite. Rush throws for less than 150 yards and 2 picks, only to be bailed out by his playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Denver Broncos at Los Angeles Chargers. Last but not least, we journey out to the AFC West for a Monday Night Football matchup between the Broncos and Chargers, where we can only hope that Los Angeles puts an early nail in Denver's proverbial coffin. Seems like you all, like us, have seen enough of Russ quote-unquote cooking and expect an easy Chargers win, even without superstar defensive end Joey Bosa ready for action. We say this finishes up by a final score of 27-13. Oh, and this one's going to be Russell Wilson's worst outing yet. We say sub 200 yards and 3 turnovers. And once again, that is without LA's best defensive player suiting up. Let me remind you. Alright, so was that bold enough for you? Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Then add your own bold prediction down below for a chance to win some awesome prizes. And be sure to vote on next week's games right now in our community section, then tune in next week to see if you won.